Hello and welcome back to ShedLife. On today's episode, we're going to show you how to walk around the car and find any problems with it before you purchase it. Have you done your homework? Well, if you have, you've gone on Google, you've looked for common problems. So for example, this Fiesta, the clips on the seats break a lot. And you look on owners forums because they're going to encourage you to buy one. They're going to tell you all the common problems, what can go wrong. They want you to be an owner like them. They want you to have the same enthusiasm for the car as they do. So they're probably your best bet to go to. Find an owners group on Facebook. They will tell you all you need to know.
Things to check before seeing the car.
My other little tips, look where the car's photographed. And then also the quality of the photographs. Is it photographed in a nice location? So for example, this looks quite nice around here. Whereas if it's in a bit of a shady location, you can guarantee the car's probably not been taken care of. And then the quality of the photographs, are they good quality photographs? Has it been done on the phone camera? Is it really grainy? Has it been done in the dark? These are all things you need to consider. You really want to see this car and how well it's been presented before you go. And the last thing is, has it got the number plate on display? This is the most important thing. This is going to allow you to look up previous MOT history. And this is a very key point because it's going to tell you any failures the car has had over the last, I think, 10 years or so. It will tell you any slight failures. So for example, they might have forgot to put the washing liquid for the wipers in, and that's a major fail. But it could be something silly as that. They've not checked their car over before going to the MOT. And then it's going to tell you any hideous failures. So for example, with K11 Nissan Micras, that is 92, I believe, to 2001, 2002, around that era Nissan Micra. The rears of the suspension mountings rust. So if you suddenly see that on a Nissan Micra and then it's magically passed, chances are they've got a dodgy MOT and you want to avoid that car completely. However, they could have got it fixed, ask if they got the receipt. If not, it's not worth your hassle, walk away. So my biggest tip for you is put the number plate in, do your HPI check as well. If you want to spend the money on that, that is quite expensive. That'll tell you if it's been stolen, but definitely do the MOT history check. You can find that all online. For anyone else abroad, you may have similar, like I think America has Carfax, but if you know what they are in your country, suggest it in the comments below. So this way everyone can learn something about how to buy a cheap car.
Checking your car's exterior.
Got your list ready? It's time to check out the car. This is to ensure we don't end up broken down by the side of the road or something breaks and you end up paying your mechanic lots of money. You've got your list and you're ready to check the car over now. Just ensure you're leaving plenty of time. This gives you time to check the car over properly. If you've only got like 10 minutes, there's really no point in seeing it. And make sure you can do it in daylight hours because that means you're going to be able to see every little problem with it. Now, when you first arrive, make sure it's a nice area. If not, you could end up with a dodgy looking guy like this.
All right, bruv.
And that'll mean you'll want to check the car over just that little bit more, but hopefully you're not and it's in a nice area. So on to the first thing we need to check. We're now here to see the car. Our first step is checking around the outside. So the first things I can see is a scratch on the bumper. It's a non-issue. If we're slowly checking our way around, we're going to look at the first tyre. If I'm looking at it, I mean, we're going to feel for how much tread's left. That's got plenty of tread. It's missing the wheel cover, which isn't really a concern. We're going to keep going round. The mirror's good. There is, however, a big dent in the door, but let's just check it opens. It does open. It looks reasonably straight. It works. Non-issue. It is a shed. Coming back to the car, there's no wheel cover on the back. Again, not an issue. Walking around to the back of the car, I can see some of the parking sensors don't look brand new. There's some, I'm guessing, covering coming off it, but as long as they work, we'll check that when we get inside. That'll be fine. Coming around to the third corner, there's some big dents. Someone's obviously been playing bumper cars in the parking lot of Tesco's. Checking the tread. We should do this on all tyres, by the way. I've forgotten the last one if you noticed. That's also good. So we keep coming around the car. I'm going to have a look at the sides again. Other mirror's good. Have a quick look at the roof, the aerial. All seems good. Coming round to the front, there's another scrape. Check the tread and the tyres. Make sure there's no welds on them. Make sure they're not dented because that will affect the alignment, how it feels. Could fail the MOT if it's unsafe. Looking at the front, the only thing I can see immediately is the number plate's cracked. That could possibly be an MOT failure, but it's only 20 quid to replace, so it's a non-issue. Overall, this Fiesta looks fairly good from the outside. So our next step, head inside.
Checking your car's interior.
Now it's time to look inside the car. Let's go. So the first thing we're going to check out is the steering lock. This is working beautifully. Let's put the key in. And then if we come over here, we're going to have a look at the dash. So what you want to make sure of is that everything on the dash, light-wise, is showing up. Otherwise, they may have taken the dash out and put some tape on it, and that means they're probably hiding an error. So if you see any lights not lighting up, that could be a concern. And if you've got a scanner or have a friend with a scanner, it's a good thing to check out. Our next thing to check is, does every single button work? Because if something doesn't work, it could be a big issue. So the first thing you're going to check are the lights. So they're now on. Go around the car, have a look. Also put the hazards on. That way your indicators are going to come on. And then if you can, get the owner to jump inside and press all the brakes. Make sure they're working. Once you've done that, turn them off. Make sure you're checking your fog light as well. We're going to check the radio and all that works. See, the radio works. You can change channel. It's all fine. Does the heaters work? Heaters work fine. Check all the positions. Any electronics you can see, make sure they're working. Most importantly, we're going to check the seat belts, because if these don't work, you're not going to pass an MOT, and frankly, it's unsafe. Right, they're strapped in. They feel good. That's all working. With this working, we're going to check our seats. Does it move forwards? Does it move back? Because you want to get the right position for your driving. Everything reclines. All the seat works. And then what we also want to check is, do our seats actually work? With the Fiestas, they can break a bit. So we're going to show you another clip how broken this is, and it's been fixed with a zip tie. So, you know, standard ShedLife mechanics. Next thing to check, handbrake. Put your foot over the brake. We're going to go down, let the brakes off. All good. Back on. That all feels good. Next thing we're going to do is start the engine. So tune in for the next bit.
Checking the engine.
So we've pulled our bonnet release. Make sure the cable's not broken, otherwise you won't be able to get to the bonnet. Make sure the holder works, and then we're going to have a quick look in the engine bay. So we're going to check our oil and find your dipstick, which happens to be here. We're going to clean it off, give it a good wipe, stick it back in, give it a few seconds, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're going to look where it is. So that is very low on oil, as you can see. It should sit between these two marks, and at the moment it's right at the bottom. So this car definitely needs oil, which is a sign it's not been taken care of very well. And our next thing to check with the oil is, do we have any mayonnaise on the filter cap? That looks fairly good, so that's all right. That's probably because it's got no oil. Our next thing to check, coolant. Do we have, so this is your coolant reservoir. We'll check the coolant, and as you can see down here on this line, it is very low on coolant. So this shed has not been taken very much care of. Next thing to check is your power steering fluid. So we will have a quick look inside if we can. I mean, that doesn't look great. It looks a bit black. It probably doesn't show on video. If we check the level on the side, you can't really see on that, but if you look inside, you can check if it's got fluid. And then brake fluid. So you can see it as a maximum mark. This is below the current level. So this car is not very well taken care of, and you may want to consider, do I want to buy this, or is it something I can easily top up and it's not a problem? So we'll wait for the test drive before we get to that bit. Other things you may need to check while looking around the engine bay, just look at general condition. So if we have a look at the engine bay, there's leaves and all sorts of rubbish, a bit of dirt. What we want to look for, are there any oil leaks around here? So I'm looking around the front of the engine, the sides of the engine. If we have a look in here, I can't see any leaks, so we know the engine's not leaking. Also, when we're there, check the floor of the driveway or wherever it's parked. It could be leaking oil. That's an obvious sign, or any signs of fluid. You may need to check how the oil is measured on the car. So it may need to be warmed up for 5 minutes, and this would be a good chance to start the engine, listen to it, turn it off, wait 5 minutes, check it over. It allows you to do all your checks while it's warming up. And then just check any connections on the battery are good, any sort of wires are good, they're not broken. We can also see like our ABS pump down here. Just make sure it's all good condition, it's not rusty. You're looking for overall condition, and that is just not horrifically bad. So as you can see from this Fiesta, there's no rust, it's all good. we've checked the engine bay over, we've done a visual inspection. You can check underneath because that's usually where you're going to get your oil leaks or any sort of damage if they've hit a bump or they've driven over a curb. Now we're going to start the engine and we're going to see how this sounds. So what we're looking for now is the engine vibrating a bit too much. We're going to look at the belts, see if they're moving funny. If we come down here, we can get a good view. They all look fairly straight. We're going to listen out for any noises when we start. Is there any funny knocking noises? We're going to let it warm up a bit and then we're going to give it just a little bit of a rev to see if we can hear if there's any funny noises. Basically, we want to make sure it's running properly. I suggest you go on YouTube, you might find a video of the car and someone's put an exhaust clip up or an engine clip up. That way you know what a good car sounds like. You can also check out what an engine knocking video sounds like so you can run away. If the engine's making any funny noises, pack up, go home. It's not worth the hassle. So now we're just going to give it a rev to see what it sounds like. We're listening for any funny noises. So from what I can hear on this is there's a possible hole in the exhaust. It's a little bit noisy of what you should expect from a Fiesta. So that'll mean go check out the exhaust system, have a look underneath, see if there's any holes. It could be an issue, like the MOT might fail on emissions. However, it may not be an issue. It's just something to look for. So you've checked the engine, you've checked the interior, you've gone around the outside, checked the general condition. This isn't the best test because you're going to do it on the test drive, but we'll just push down the corners, see if it springs back. I mean, that feels fairly solid. That's not broken. Go to the next corner, give it a good push. That feels solid as well. Next corner, all feels good. I mean, most people probably don't do this, but it's always a good idea just to get an idea of how it should feel. Like if you're pushing down, so that's all the corners check. You're pushing down enough, it's all rebounding. If you've got a broken shock, it'll just go down, it'll feel really soft. That feels fairly tight. I know everything with this car is pretty good condition, and if there's any issues, we'll find out on the test drive.
Some top tips.
So a few more tips I didn't mention. We're going to bring some tools with us. We've got a map so we can look underneath, saves your knees, and we're also going to bring a good torch so we can see any problems underneath. Really check out the wheel arches, the underneath, the exhaust, all the things you can't usually see. You want to bring some rags so you can check the oil. And if you can get an OBD2 reader off eBay, they're about a tenner. It could save you a world of problems. You can plug it in, give it a quick scan. Obviously they're not the best. Do that. And the most important thing, if you've got a friend who's into cars, for the price of a few beers, I'm sure they'll help you look around, which means you don't really need to look at this. Just find your best car friend and they'll help you the best they can. Or if you really want to spend some money, you know, you haven't got any car friends, you can do an AA check. They're about £140. Obviously that's quite a lot of money if you're buying a shed. So you've only got our tips to go by, or try and find someone who knows about cars. That's all I can recommend. And hopefully you're well on your way to finding a good shed. Happy with the car? I am. So in next week's episode, we're going to take this for a test drive. So tune in next week and I'll see you then.